Welcome to Layer the Alchemist, where we discuss all things heavy metal and hard rock. On today's episode, another in my series of what I'm calling Record Rewind. This is where we go back and check out some cool albums from the past. And this is a part two in my AC/DC special. As of the recording of this video, next Friday we will have the new AC/DC album, Power Up. So I thought it would be fun leading up to that to go back and cover the two albums before Power Up. So last week I did Black Ice, and I started with Black Ice because, as I mentioned in that video, I felt like Black Ice was kind of a return to form, a renaissance, if you will, for AC/DC. It brought them back into the public eye. For me, it was an album that got me excited about the band again, got me interested in them again. I kind of felt like Ball Breaker and Stiff Upper Lip were just okay records. But for me, Black Ice got me excited again. All right, so now we're talking about the follow-up to Black Ice, which is 2014 Rock or Bust. And I don't know how well you can see this here in the video, but it's got this cool 3D cover. I thought I love this because at this point, Malcolm Young, founding member, brother of Angus Young, had gotten sick after the Black Ice album, was unable to play on this record. So I think that that's maybe a tribute there to Malcolm. The album comes with a really nice multi-page booklet inside, so really nice packaging. As I mentioned, Malcolm had gotten sick after Black Ice. Stevie Young, their cousin, steps in. Stevie had played with the band, filled in for Malcolm during the Blow Up Your Video tour. This is 8 years since Black Ice. I was excited about Black Ice. I really liked that album, so I was excited about this one to see where they were going to go. This is the shortest studio album that AC/DC has ever released. It's 35 minutes long. And in my Black Ice video, I complained about there being too many songs on that record. And I said I felt like if it had been trimmed down to just 9 or 10 songs, it would have been more effective. And so they do that here, and I think it works to the advantage of this record. The songs at this point were, so Malcolm is sick, and apparently these were songs that were Angus and Malcolm had worked on during the Black Ice sessions and other stuff around that time, things that didn't make Black Ice. That made me a little nervous. I didn't know what to expect without Malcolm there. Even though Malcolm's the rhythm guitar player, he's also really the creative driving force behind AC/DC. He's sort of this unsung hero in AC/DC. When everybody sees AC/DC, they see Angus and Brian or Bon, but really Malcolm was the visionary and driving force for the band. So I wasn't sure how things were going to work out, but in my opinion, they work really great. I really like this album. In some ways, I like this album better than Black Ice. It was produced by Brendan O'Brien again, who produced Black Ice, and I complained that Black Ice was too bright and kind of harsh and overcompressed and loud. That seems to be corrected here. This album has a nice warm sound to it. The guitars sound great, the drums sound great, really nice and punchy. The bass guitar sounds fantastic on this album. Cliff Williams on bass, Phil Rudd on drums, Stevie on rhythm guitar, Angus Young. What can you say about Angus Young? He's a legend at this point. The whole band in general, Brian Johnson, of course, on vocals. I mentioned from Black Ice that Brian Johnson's vocals seem to have changed for the better on Black Ice. I don't know if it was what he did, if it was a lifestyle change or what, but to me, his voice sounded great on Black Ice. It sounds great here. Angus sounds great. Angus has the whole band in general has sort of, in my opinion, in this part of their career, settled into sort of this laid back. There's a lot of mid-tempo songs. You're not really getting anything really aggressive from AC/DC at this point. You're not getting anything like a Let There Be Rock. You're not getting a Giving the Dog a Bone or some kind of fast, aggressive things from them. they seem to have settled into this nice grooving mid-tempo rockin' type of feel, and for me it works really well for them. Phil Rudd, he is the perfect drummer for AC/DC in my opinion. He's a great drummer, not a flashy drummer, but he just has a great feel, and he plays these types of songs. He's sort of mid-tempo, laid back with a groove. He does that really well. The bass has a lot of really nice runs on this, so it's just it's a cool album, and it sounds really good. So the album starts with Rock or Bust, which was one of the singles. It's a cool, like I mentioned, a nice in the pocket grooving type of AC/DC number. I like in the chorus, it's a rock or bust. Angus has these sort of, he has these nice little lines that he's playing in the chorus of the song and through the verses and stuff. So just a cool song. There's a video of them performing this live at some sort of music awards. It must have been not too long after this album came out. LL Cool J introduces them. And what's really cool about it is, first of all, they sound great. They're just locked right in. I mean, AC/DC to me is all about the feel, and they have this certain groove and feel to them that they're a simple, I put that in quotes, band, meaning they're not playing a whole bunch of chords and complicated things, but it's all about the feel with AC/DC. And to me, that is why you hear almost no bands that sound like AC/DC, because it is all in the groove, in the feel, in the pocket that they use when they play. So in this Video Music Awards thing, or whatever it is, they play Rock or Bust, and what's great is that they scan around the crowd a bunch of times, and you're seeing people like Paul everybody's on their feet, clapping their hands, getting into it, and you see like Paul McCartney, grooving along. You see all these, rappers and different people and legendary artists, and they're just all getting into it, and that's where AC/DC is at this point in their career. They're this very well-respected band, and in my opinion, they've written their own chapter in the history of rock and roll. So I just love it. It's great. It's awesome seeing them getting the well-deserved respect that they deserve. Next was the next single, Play Ball, which Major League Baseball here in the States used that, I remember, in some like promotion stuff. For me, this was a song, I think it's okay. It didn't really do a lot for me. This was a complaint that I've had with the last so many AC/DC records. Angus and Malcolm wrote all the songs, so they wrote the lyrics, and the lyrics for me, I just don't like some of the lyrics that they come up with in the last so many years with the band. I'm not quite sure why they don't let Brian Johnson write, but again, AC/DC was never Shakespeare. I keep saying this, but they always had cool titles and clever lyrics, and some of that is missing from this later AC/DC. Next, Rock the Blues Away. This is, I like this one, and I mentioned this in Black Ice, that AC/DC has this nice place where they are able to write these really just sort of almost poppy melodic rock songs. On Black Ice, it was Anything Goes. You could go back and talk about like Money Talks, that type of thing. And this is Rock the Blues Away from me. It's just a fun rocker. It's super catchy. It's just a fun song. AC/DC doing this type of thing really well at this point. I love the chorus in that song. Misadventure kicks the rhythm, kicks the tempo up a little bit here. It's got kind of a cool, fun driving groove. Misadventure. Nice feel to it. Dogs of War. Dogs of War, excuse me, reminds me of War Machine from Black Ice. Give me a second to remember it. It has that same type of thing with the background vocals. Cool one. Then next we have Got Some Rock and Roll Thunder. This one has a really cool bass line in it. And like I mentioned, Cliff Williams' bass is really warm and up front in the mix here. Very underrated bass player. And he has this cool kind of syncopated, funky bass line in it that I really love. There's some, Brendan O'Brien seems to have put his trademark on a couple different things with AC/DC at this point. One of them being that there sometimes seems to be a third guitar that comes in where Angus is just playing some fills and little extra runs and stuff. And also with the background vocals, he seems to have put his stamp on that. I think like during the Mutt Lange era, there was a certain style with the background vocals then, like in Walk All Over You, you know, the way Mutt Lange did the background vocals. Well, Brendan O'Brien seems to put his own stamp on it too. And like in this song, there's these doo-da-doo-da-doo, hey, type of vocals that they sound like there are a lot of people, but they're sort of pulled back in the mix, so they're not really too up front, but it just sort of fills out the sound. So Hard Times is a fun, groovy, bluesy number. Baptism of Fire has this cool blues line for the main riff. Reminds me a little bit of like Beating Around the Bush, like a slowed down version of that main lick in Beating Around the Bush. So a fun one. Rock the House. I really like this one. This is one of my favorite songs on the record. I love it. It has like a Brian Johnson does this sort of call and response thing, like, hey man, yeah, and it got this really cool main riff to it. I love when AC/DC, they're mostly remembered for playing like big chords, but I love when they play like single note runs, like in To Go Back, like I just mentioned, Beating Around the Bush, or Baptism of Fire has that, Rock the House has that. Next, Sweet Candy. Sweet Candy, this one's got a cool, nasty little groove to it. Mission Control is sort of an aggressive bluesy number. It's got like a weird sort of quirky riff to it, but it's really cool. It's really catchy. So the album, like I said, 35 minutes, goes by really quickly, but I like all the songs on this record. I mean, some songs I like better than others, but in general, I really like this record. There's maybe because it's so brief, it never feels like it's dragging on or anything. Doesn't really feel like there's any filler on this. I mean, there's some songs that are better than others, but man, I could have, Sweet Candy could have been the second or third song on the album. Most of the time when people are tracking an album, the songs 1 through 3 are if there's going to be singles, they're usually within the first 2 or 3 songs on the album. Sweet Candy could have been a single. Rock the House could have been a single. Really, any of these songs, you could have swapped any of these songs out and made a video for them, and I think they would have done well. So there you go. For me, I like this better than Black Ice, a little bit better than Black Ice. I like it better than Stiff Upper Lip and Ball Breaker. So it was, Black Ice was a nice return to form. This was a nice continuation. I'm curious where they're going to go with Power Up. We'll see next Friday. To me, I'm guessing that it's going to be along the same lines. I've read that Power Up is, more songs that Angus and Malcolm had worked on over the years. Apparently, they have just boxes full of cassettes and recordings that they did. So I'm excited for the new AC/DC record. The lead single, Shot in the Dark, the production sounds good on it. The song grew on me. I think it's a catchy song, and they played a little snippet of another song. I forget what it's called, but that sounded pretty cool too. So I'm guessing it's going to feel like in the vicinity of Rock or Bust. It's going to be closer to Rock or Bust than it was to Black Ice. So let me know what you think in the comments of Rock or Bust. Let me know if you're getting excited for the new AC/DC album, and make sure you hit like and subscribe. We'll see you next Friday with the new album. Excited to see how it goes, see how we like it. And until we see you again, make sure you stay heavy, stay